Hey, and welcome to Cujo Sound. My name is Bjørn Jacobsen, and I run Cujo Sound, both the company and the website and the YouTube channel. Now, about a year ago, or probably more, previous summer, we made a series on this channel about learning to listen, about how to write down ambiances and how to deal with a lot of things in regards to listening. Like, for example, how to write down on a timeline what you were actually hearing. It's a great exercise that I give a lot of my students on how to actually learn to listen to what is actually in the soundscape that you're recording while you're recording it. But also, if you don't have a recorder, you can write it down on the timeline and you can simply just go home and design it later if you know the pattern to the soundscape that you want. Or you can basically also record something with your sketchbook and then write it down later and then add stuff to it, sort of like so that you get it's like kind of like a note sheet that if you were playing music. Now today we have a very, very unique situation because of the coronavirus that's going on. We don't have a total lockdown. We don't have a curfew here in Copenhagen. So I am allowed to go out, but my point is that there's not a lot of people around. So it's a very, very unique experience to record lots of places in the city which will be completely desolated. It's going to be really, really awesome. Also, we're going to be recording the whole metro line system and so on, probably overnight. It's going to be really late, but I'm going to use the opportunity to tell you how we are going to record this, how we're going to write it down. I'll show you a bunch of examples, and sorry for this shot being so dark. Let's get to it. All right, so as I'm walking here, I might be explaining a couple of things about how this is actually going to work. I brought my trusty sketchbook here and a pen. It's not really a sketchbook, I just type things or write things in it about what I need to do during the day and so on. Everybody should actually have a sketchbook like this or a notebook that they can write stuff down into. Now, I'm just going to walk away from the traffic a little bit. There isn't much traffic, it's much less than it usually is. But the important part of doing this is that we can sort of like write a timeline. The whole point of the timeline is that we can sort of read it again. So whatever you write on this timeline is just for you to be able to read it again. So whatever you write, make sure that you use terms that you would always use and stuff that you would always be able to like recognize and decipher yourself. So if you write bird, it should mean that there is a bird. Or if you can write anything descriptive or draw arrows or pointers or whatever to tell how things should sound or work or how it's moving, you should do that. I'll give you an example in a second once we get to a location where we can record something. The only problem with that is that if we record stuff with the phone here, you won't be able to get the spatialization of what we're recording. So you can see the notebook and we'll talk about what's being heard, but it's going to be really hard to actually hear it. But when we get to the metro stations, I'll show you some more. In my backpack, I have my Tascam HDP2 recorder, and I have my Sennheiser 418, an MS microphone. I like that because it's broad, but it's mainly because I want some very, very specific noises from the metro stations whenever the trains are arriving. They make a really, really cool wind howl that I want to record. And then I want as much dead city. Well, not dead. You should be using the word dead these days, now that so many people are dying, unfortunately, of this disease. But the city's going to be completely desolated, and it's a very, very unique opportunity to record this. Now let's get to the train station, all right? Okay, so we found a spot. I've taken out my recorder. It's down here. It's my microphone, and I have my trusty HG25 headphones on. And the recorder's on. Now we're going to start recording, and just for the sake of what we're hearing, I'll start to write it down and then actually do an actual recording afterwards. So I'll flip the camera over and we'll take a look at my paper. Okay, so what I'm going to start by is simply just make a marker here and say that this here is approximately 30 seconds. So we're going to be recording 1 minute, 2 minutes. Let's just start by that and then talk it through. Now let's talk a little bit about, let's start the clock. And it's not about how precise you are in terms of timing and how we deal with this, but the most important thing is that if this is an exercise, it's about you writing it down and then you go home and try to recreate that soundscape. But if this is a professional thing that you're writing down, or that you need to use it, or both, for educational reasons, or an exercise, or you're simply going home to record this afterwards, then it's very important that you can read this and decipher it yourself afterwards. So let's start here. So we have from here to here, we have steps, wet pavement. They're going behind us. They sort of like continue in this direction. And we here have, all the way, we have static background city. So here comes steps left. Alright, that's approximately 30 seconds. And the steps continue here. Now they're basically, say, switch right. Switch to the right. And they sort of like fade out. So okay there. Now to our left, let's make an arrow. This faint speech. And we just here to our right have a car pass about 100 meters away. Right. We have car approach from right. Here it becomes left. And so it fades out. Like I said, it's just so that you can decipher it yourself. Basically, it fades out all the way here. And we have here speech to our left, and this continues down here. Now these arrows, they're not really exactly the best pointers, but I understand that this is the point, this is the right pointer that goes down here. Now behind us, there's a trash bag made of plastic. To our right is a bike, rusty, and passes, so now it's on our left. Which means from here to the end of it, we have speech. On phone. Right. So this is technically a 2-minute soundscape that we've just made. It's probably a little more than 2 minutes, but we have steps on wet pavement coming from the left. Steps continue over here. There's constantly a background of static city in the background. The steps switch over to our left. And we have here more steps, and they cut so that they go to the right instead of our left. And we have a passing car. The passing car comes over here, which suddenly goes to our left. And it is approaching, so it drives basically from our right to our left. And here there's a faint speech. Well, this is the car that's driving, and we have faint speech, which continues over here. Behind us is a person with a plastic bag throwing it out. There's a bike that's very rusty that bikes by us. And someone is speaking on the phone, walking behind us here, which means that there are also steps here. technically I could go home and then recreate this if I wanted to, if this is the exact soundscape that I want. Now the exercise is that you can never ever go somewhere and record a soundscape and it will be as you want it to, because it's super random. Of course, you can record, let's say, backgrounds and ambiences and so on, if that's the type of ambience that you want. But all these individual events, you cannot predict. So, if I was to design this, I needed to find all these sounds and put them in myself. But another way of doing is that if I find a place where I know there is a static background city and I record that alone, then technically I could design these and let's say put them into my game audio engine and have them appear random. So that I'm basically designing this type of place, but all these appear randomly. It's super cool for writing down how a place sounds if you find it really awesome. But the whole point of this exercise is that you can, of course, without a recorder, write stuff down and then go home and sort of like recreate it. But another point is that you, along the way, learn to listen more for what's actually in the soundscape that you're recording. And it'll help you find better spots for sound designing and recording. Alright, so before we reach the city, I'm going to end this video so that it doesn't get too long. But I really hope you understand what this exercise is for and how it's going to be used. Now get out and record something before there is a lockdown, or wait until the lockdown and curfew is over. And hopefully we'll get through this crisis and disaster of a virus without too many casualties. I really hope that everybody's safe, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have not already done so, why not hit the like and subscribe button? And if you really want to support this channel, head over to patreon.com/Cujo Sound, where you for as little as $1 a month can help me sustain this channel. I would really appreciate it. It really helps me fund the time that I take off to record all these things. See you in the next video.